Hi guys, Abbotswood. Thomas Reid, direct realism. The most influential and popular and even current uh, overwhelming belief system in the UK, Anglo-Saxon world, Western world, Europe, is empiricism. Its basic tenets is that what we know, what we learn, all arises from our senses, and the senses being the five principal ones: touch, taste, sound, vision, and hearing. And that these are not just necessary, but they are sufficient to account for knowledge. This view has no time for inborn capabilities like universal grammar from Chomsky, or the Kantian categories that are necessary in order to establish the possibility of knowledge. The two most powerful categories from Kant are time and space, which you can't experience. Either the vastness of space, you can obviously experience your local space, but not space itself. And time, the vastness of time, from the dawn of time, whenever that was, through to infinity, if that's the way we're going. But you can experience your local time. But the empiricists will kind of sidestep that and say that we infer things from it. But perhaps the most famous empiricist was Locke and Berkeley and Hume. And Locke basically said that we are born with a blank slate, the tabula rasa, and we acquire knowledge through the imposition of ideas, or the collection of ideas that arise through the senses. Berkeley felt that we do that, but all of our senses are subject to correspondence to a reality which is established by God, by the Almighty. And God endows us with the faculty for grasping reality as He determines it. And Hume had none of that. Hume just said that we can't grasp reality at all, because all we see is a constant conjunction between cause and effect. The famous billiard ball, one ball hits another ball, all we see is the impact, and the second ball may be rolling, but we don't see the causal force, what they called the powers that created that movement. And this approach, and it goes back, and it was codified to a great extent by Descartes, leads or can lead to a general skepticism about our ability to grasp reality. Kant, for example, was trying to bridge the gap between realism and empiricism. He said that Hume woke him from his slumbers because he was coming from a continental kind of realist tradition to a certain extent, Leibniz and others. He said that we can't perceive the thing in itself, that whatever we do perceive, even using the 12 categories of understanding, there's always something else. There is the powers, or there is some other characteristic which he defined as the thing in itself. So that doesn't help address the skeptical view, really, because if you only see the world partially, then what really determines what it is that you see and what you understand by what you see? Now, Thomas Reid, who's much less well known than any of these characters, just said no, none of that is true. He was an advocate of realism, but more than that, he was an advocate of what he called direct realism or common sense realism. And he just made this very, very powerful, and I think kind of knocked down case against empiricism, which was this. He didn't know about evolution, but he said as a species, as human beings, we are endowed with the faculty of seeing the world as it is. If we didn't, we wouldn't be able to survive, right? We might not always see it exactly as it is, because there are mirages and illusions and sleights of hand, and there are obviously things in addition to the things we see. There's the roots beneath the tree, there's the bacteria that we don't see in our own ecosystems. There are many things you don't see, but you could do with the help of magnifying glasses and, for distant objects, telescopes. But what we do see in the Reidian view can only be made explicit because we see the cause and the effect. We see the thing in its fullness. There is no thing in itself. Now, I've come to a Reidian perspective. I think this is a compelling argument. But we need to really get into the weeds of why it's compelling and not just make the assumption that it is. And I'm going to need your help, as always. I'm going to need you to contest the claims that I make, propose your own views, maybe get involved in the discussion, leave something in the notes below for others to see. But let's talk about it, see where it takes us.